which has worked spectacularly.
From the stars came the will to shape fate, hurling this world toward ruin. This burden is mine to bear, to offer guidance where it is most needed, to demand sacrifice. For I am the ruler of the northern provinces, sentinel of the great bastion, supreme matriarch of Nangao, master of the storm winds, daughter of the dragon emperor.
Very good.
That's cool, isn't it?
You're claiming to be the main character from the Cathay.
I am the supreme matriarch, me.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be doing that because as much as I am very excited for Cathay, I'm mostly excited for the second version of the Cathay that comes around in 4 years when we get more units, because I have a feeling that a tournament list from Cathay is going to look very similar when everyone has the same character and the same units, but we will see.
Everyone's doing exactly the same thing.
Absolutely. Jordan is here. Says, "Fear not, Ed, I'm here." That just fills me with fear. Hate that for me. Skaven Kev, how you doing? Hope you're doing well.
Skaven Kev.
Callum says, second, square brackets, like Ed. Sucks to be you because you were third. Get your shit together. You know, unacceptable behaviour. Steve says, early for once, is that because he has to go to bed early in case he's too tired on his morning commute and crashes his car again?
Oh, wow, that's a throwback. Well done. Well remembered, Steve.
I was like, what? I haven't got a car.
I'm getting the train tomorrow, so we're all good. I don't think I'll crash a train. That would be dangerous.
But it might not happen. Good old British Rail. As always, good to have you all. If you're here and you haven't already, give the stream a like, a thumbs up through your inane comments in the chat, as all of the regulars have already done. Helps get picked up by the algorithm, seen by more people, all of that good stuff.
Are you calling our followers inane?
No, I'm calling some very specific VIP members inane.
You know who you are.
Yes, and 3 of the 4 of them are here. But I love you. You've been waiting hours to do that. Yep, hell yeah. Appreciate that. So we've both been at an event this weekend. Mine's a proper event, and yours was some sort of disgusting 40k event, I think.
Futuristic. There were bolters and las cannons and plasma cannons. It was all messy.
I bet.
Made a mess of those ogres, I can tell you that for sure.
It would have made a mess of this. It really would have done. So I think we should very quickly touch on your event. We don't have to go into the nuts and bolts of it, but I think there's some interesting aspects of your event that are worth talking about, just, you know, from a player perspective. So, Saffron Slam. People may have heard of it. It's a little bit more casual, and I think especially in the 40k space, because you don't do what everyone else does, which is run good terrain.
Come on.
Hey, your terrain's great for Old World, but for 40k, the lethality is so high that if any part of your army can be seen and you go second, you probably just lose the game. And you've got these lovely themed boards that aren't L-shaped ruins made of MDF, which is, you know, what we've all got used to in the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. So it's a bit more of a casual vibe, and that's something you promote. You look for making sure people are having fun, as opposed to making sure everyone's winning all of their games. That's the sort of like number one thing that you're going for. So
yeah, exactly. So if you go to a lot of events, 40k events, if you've seen them online or you've seen them on YouTube or whatever, you'll note they often use symmetrical terrain. So the terrain will be identical on every single board over the whole weekend. And that helps create a balanced experience. That creates an experience players can plan for. It creates an experience where, in theory, the winner of the game is decided by the quality of the general. And that terrain often takes the form of, as you say, MDF L-shaped ruins. So they create that shape, and you can hide lots of stuff in those L's and jump them out and do things like that. Because, as you say, Ed, anything out in the open in 40k, whenever I tell anyone that I coach with 40k, if your stuff's out in the open, it's dead. So once it's out in the open, it needs to do whatever it needs to do, whether that's score you points or take something out, because you know immediately as soon as it's out in the open, it's not going to last any longer. So those boards, they're great for that, brilliant for that. There's so many competitive events that go to hundreds and hundreds of players, and they're really, really amazing. What I try and do with mine is push back on that slightly and just say that you can still have an amazing weekend. You can still play 40k to a decent level. You can still get all of your favourite toys out, and you can get some of your favourite toys out that Games Workshop have banned.
Do you allow the Legends units?
I do allow Legends, yes, mostly because I'm bitter and twisted about my Falchion being nerfed into the ground in the start of 10th edition. So I allow everybody to bring their Titans and all that sort of stuff because it's good fun. And I lay the boards out very differently. They have lots of theme stuff. If you've been to my Old World event, some of that terrain crosses over. It doesn't all cross over. And I try not to make planet bowling balls. That's definitely something I do avoid. I think broadly I pull that off. Although this weekend was a teams tournament, so teams of 5. It's the most fun way to play 40k. And as of November, I hope we will be able to demonstrate it's the most fun way to play Old World as well. Playing in a team is just, I think, better. But it does mean that I can play around with the board layouts quite a lot. So I can make lighter boards and heavier boards that challenge players to do different things. And as you say, Ed, I tend to normally aim it at trying to make an experience that's more welcoming for newer players that feel slightly less confident. Our last podcast episode, we spent a while talking about how you could approach your first event, how to prepare for it, and how to try and get over some of that sort of social anxiety or any size like that can be barriers to getting to events. And that's why I deliberately try and make my events towards. And obviously that requires all the players kind of getting on with that vibe. So when I saw a few weeks before the event a certain Team Ignite sign up to the event, I was admittedly quite surprised. Now, if anyone doesn't know, Team Ignite are
number 1 ranked team in the UK last year, I think.
Yeah, number 1 ranked team in the UK, and I'd make an argument to suggest that they could push for number 1 ranked team in the world.
Multiple Team England players from last season.
Yeah, Team England players, Team USA players, one Team Poland player as well. So like proper international players, all one and all. Team New Zealand as well, with Dave Gaylard in there as well. So a team that would normally be seen at a big UKTC L-shaped terrain, very competitive event. And indeed, last weekend there was a 450 player super major in Sheffield. So one would think that is probably where you'd find those individuals. But no, they decided this weekend, Ed, to come to the Saffron Slam. And I haven't been this nervous for running an event in quite a while, because I've kind of got into the rhythm of it. I've got a core community that come to a lot of my events, and then everybody that comes in just gets on with the vibe. And they very quickly learn kind of how to fit in. So I'm never that worried about an event. But this one, I was actually like, anyone that, if you speak to any of the guys that were helping me set up on the Friday night, and I'm normally quite anal about terrain. This time I spent literally an hour. I sent everybody who'd helped me set up home, and I said, right, I am going to go through every single board in detail.
I've got a Phantom Titan being painted by Mohawk Miniatures. I'll DM you some pics, Lewis. Well done on your event, mate.
Steve's got some interesting Phantom Titans being painted by Jay from Mohawk Mini, so he says he'll send you some pictures, and also congratulations on the event.
Yes, I'll. What I do, Steve, I didn't know you played 40k, Steve, but I have had a player bring a Phantom Titan. It is technically 2,100 points, so it's slightly over points, but I'm yet to see the player that brings the Phantom Titan win a game with it. So I'm quite happy for Patrick and his Phantom Titan to come to as many events as he wants.
Perfect. Yes, so you were nervous about the event?
Yes, was quite nervous because I mean, I've played 1 or 2 of them before, and they've always been good opponents. I've never had any issues with them, and actually we've always had tight games, close games. Well, I say close games. They've always battered me, but it's always been sort of an enjoyable experience. So I wasn't worried they would be dickheads or anything like that. That wasn't my concern. I was worried they'd turn up having not necessarily read the event pack. Some people, like you, Ed, don't read the event packs, and they walk into the hall.
I can't read.
Walk into the hall and just be like, "What the fuck is this?" And that obviously that's not an experience I want anybody to have coming to my events, you know. So it's just not what we're about. But thankfully, they had a member of their team, Jack Tite, who is an incredibly good player, trying to play for Team England this year if he does well enough.
He will.
He is a regular at one of my events because he's quite local, lives in Cambridge. And he was able to have some conversations with those fine gentlemen in advance and let them know that the vibe of the event that they'd signed up for was probably slightly less than they might be expecting, and that they should probably tone down their lists, bring something a bit more fun, and be prepared for a bit more of a laugh. And to their credit, and we have another team of really, really good players called the Wild Boys as well, people from Dice Down and stuff like that, who are also very, very good 40k team turned up. And to all of their credits, they threw themselves properly into the spirit of the event in a way that was genuinely really good fun. Like, they were randomizing their pairings, they were randomizing the boards they were playing on. There was an incredible game between Boris, who's the team captain, and Paul James, one of our 6++ boys, where it was World Eaters versus Space Wolves. So Paul was just howling at the moon, and Boris just stood there screaming, and it was just like the exact 40k vibes you want for a fun experience. And they just threw themselves into it, and they've sent me some very kind messages afterwards saying that it was sort of they played a lot of competitive events on symmetrical terrain over a number of years, and they actually messaged to say that the event that they came to here at Saffron Walden was one of the most fun events they've had in a very, very long time. And that, as a TO, to hear that from some of the best players in the world is genuinely is quite affirming as to what I'm trying to achieve with my events. I don't always put it off, but sometimes that is what we're trying to achieve. And if even the best players in the world can come along and have a good time, and hopefully I'm going in the right direction.
Excellent stuff. That is good. And they are a bunch of good players, and looking forward to seeing Jack finally get his chance to win an international event, because I believe he can do it. He's a pretty good player.
100%.
Perfect. So that takes us through the 40k. And thank you for bearing with, because we weren't actually talking about 40k. We were talking about the players, so I think it's still relevant. But I had an event this weekend as well, and the preliminary part of this event was I submitted the wrong list. And the reason for that is because I submitted my list at my PC, which you're like, okay, sure, that doesn't make any difference. And then I checked on my phone, and it said that the list I hadn't been submitted. So this was at 11:30. I was like, oh god, I've got to, submit a list. I don't want to be submitting it late, make it look like I'm trying to cheat or anything like that.
Yeah.
Pulled it up on my phone, submitted it, great. Problem is that I completely forgot about. The list that I had on my phone is not the list I wanted to play. It was one I'd been playing around with, and basically I had an Impetuous Dragon with only a 6-up ward save instead of a 5-up ward save, which was not ideal. It's something that I've played around with, and it's been fine, but I think I just prefer the reliability of the 5-up ward save instead of, squeezing that little bit more value out. So went into the event, and I was like, oh, whatever, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Unlike the person who did win, who had to change their list, just getting a dig in now, Andy, because... So
Andy's, you're not bitter at all.
Well, I'll talk about that in a second. Andy's lovely. Deserved the win. So Andy normally plays dwarves, and this is the first time he was playing chaos. So his chaos sorcerer had a talisman of protection. Already comes with a ward save, so that was good. And he also learned that he's not allowed to put Nurgle casters in Slaanesh units. So I think it was before the first game he tweaked his list just to make it legal, not to give him an advantage, just to be like, okay, you no longer have to have 2 5-up ward saves that you can't stack, and you're allowed to put your wizard in your bunker. But I don't think that gave him an advantage in any way. However, for the sake of comedic ribbing, I think it's definitely worth mentioning.
It's disgusting cheating.
Disgraceful behaviour.
That is up there with overrunning 3 times, isn't it? That is just unacceptable behaviour.
Unacceptable behaviour. I will as well say, there has been a shout out. Scott did run an event, 40-player event, Colchester Clash. Glad to see that went really well, 40 players. So congratulations to everyone.
Well done, Scott.
Good stuff. I think there was a third event on as well. I know there was an RTT that some of my lads went to. I think up in the northeast, I want to say. So busy weekend for Warhammer players. It was jam-packed, loads of old world players. I think something like 85, 90 of us across the country playing, or maybe I'm overshooting. Probably 75, 80, which is really good. There's that much engagement across the table. You could run 3 events and all of them be pretty much packed to the gills, which is really cool. So I had my list, which is basically the list I've been playing around with. It's a little bit of a tweak. So I've got a dragon, Prince on Dragon, I've got a BSB on a Griffin. Then I've got a level 4 wizard with battle magic, silvery wand, and a horse, so 5 spells. And I've got a single squad of Illyrian Reavers with the Lawmaster's Cloak, giving them a war save against magic missiles. 2 units of Silver Helms with full command and a Ring of Fury for the bound spell Hammerhand level 2. And then 2 Lothan Skycutters and 2 squads of Sisters of Avalon. 1 with the Bow of the Seafarer, 1 with the Ruby Ring of Ruin. I was thoroughly underwhelmed by the Bow of the Seafarer, honestly.
That's the through and through bow, isn't it?
Yeah, I was rolling really poorly with it. I think across the board, my rolls were pretty average or maybe a little above average. But like that one specific thing, it felt very noteworthy because it's a single shot. I just felt like I was hitting a lot with it and then failing to wound most times. And a lot of the time I was wounding on 3, so it was just like, I hit on 3s. Cool, I hit. I wound on 3s. Oh, I rolled a 2 there. Sucks. It's fine. I think it needs more testing before I'm super sold on it. So we'll see. So going into round 1, we got paired, and what Rob likes to do is he goes down the list for round 1, and he makes sure that if you play against someone that you play against a lot, he'll repair you, so you're not just playing against someone that you came in the cart with, which I think is quite nice. And he got down to me, and I was playing against Tom. Tom's lovely. He is in the local area. I've played him at Club Nights once or twice. I haven't played him a lot. Tom Bradley. And Rob shouted out, "Oh, do you want to swap? Ed, do you want to swap? You're playing someone." I said no, and apparently I said that really quickly, which everyone thought was funny. And the reason for that was he was playing dwarves. I was like, "I'll take a dwarf round 1." Pretty happy with that. Now I will say his list is designed to kill dragons at range. It's 2 units. Plus a couple of copters. So he's got a big unit of rangers. He's got a big unit of iron drakes. They're all just there to shoot. He's got double king in there. 1 that's super tanky, 1 with the Rune of Smiting. And it's set up to try and do as much damage as possible from range. But it's still dwarves, so I feel pretty comfortable with it. So let's have a look here. Boom. There we go. So this is the game 1, and I was pretty locked in over the course of the weekend. I feel like I was playing pretty well, but I was also not super paying attention to taking pictures. I think I got pictures of all of the rounds, but I did forget to take some of them until sort of round 1. So round 1, playing open battle, I deploy pretty just centrally, and then Tom skews over to the right, so I match him with the rest of my drops. He had a lot less drops. I ended up going first.
Yeah, that's really, really tricky with only 2 units plus a couple of copters, because you kind of give away your position very early in the drop process.
You do. Also, as dwarves, you kind of do anyway. But also as dwarves, getting that +1 so you can go first and shoot is quite nice as well.
Yeah.
I ended up going first, even with the +1. But I don't think against my list it would have made much difference, because I outranged all of his units. I made sure to deploy the Silver Helms backwards. So I think if I go across to this picture, you can see I was not giving him easy shots. Even though this is after turn 1, I was kind of just tucked in as much as possible.
Yeah.
So skewed over to the right and basically just sent the dragon forwards. I didn't have Arcane Urgency in this game, so I did have to, I couldn't just full send forwards. I was able to just get forwards, get into charge range for turn 2. This was an interesting one. So Tom deployed his characters behind the unit so he could jump in and join them, which he did, but then kind of messed up the positioning. So this is the tanky Dwarf King in the center here. You can just see behind the Iron Drakes.
Right, yeah.
And he had the other king over here. So if you had the king with the smiting in the middle, he'd have been able to put it into the Iron Drakes. What he realized is after I went forwards on turn 1 was that I was going to eat those Iron Drakes. And if he put the king in there, I was going to eat the Iron Drakes over like an additional turn. It would have taken me 1 more turn, 2 more rounds of combat. But they'd still die, and he'd also lose his general. So he decided that after this turn 1, he just had to bunker all of his characters into that big unit, which I think was the right choice. But I was also very pleased to hear that, before my turn 2, it's like, okay, so this 400-point unit's going to die. Moving on, I did get in, let's have a look here. Yeah, you can see there. So get the charge in, kill some, they stubborn backwards, fall back in good order, I chase them, job's a good one. Set up happily. I've got the Griffin here, ready to go for the flank charge into this unit. Basically just setting up for turn 3, when I'm going to be able to eat this big unit of rangers with the double charge from the double monsters. He can only challenge out one of my characters. Everything will be fine.
The other one gets stuck in, yeah.
Exactly, yeah, that's the plan. So, did I take another picture? Yeah, so this is after the charge on turn 3. they failed a terror test.
Oh no!
Yeah, I know. It was genuinely sad. I was upset about it. I wasn't happy. Like, I felt like I was going to win anyway. And then his 1,500 point unit with all of his characters in, like 4 characters in there, or maybe 5 characters, fled off the board.
Yeah,
and it's such a feels bad.
It's the fastest they've ever moved, though.
It is the fastest they've ever moved. So I won that game in an hour 15, an hour 10, something like that, and we were just like, oh, okay. So now what?
That's that then.
We did play it out. We played, because he had 2 copters left, and we played out. So after this charge, I then shot one of the copters to death, and then poor Tom, got 1 round of copter moving. Tried to get in range to do something, and then I shot it to death with the sisters before he got to do anything else. So that was a little bit rough. Zen Fox says needs that rune of courage. Does need that rune of courage. And yes. Tom's never failed a terror test before, and just got lax with putting it in his list, and shaved the points. I think maybe an extra Iron Drake or something like that. And
won't be doing that again.
Yeah, it came back to bite him, which sucks. So the worst thing is he had 15 points in his character slot as well.
Oh, I could have put it in.
Rune of Courage costs 15 points, so he could have just had it. Heartbreaking. Poor Tom, but a great sport. I voted him for best sport, because if you can continue to be, really friendly and pleasant after your entire army runs off the board on turn 3, you deserve to be voted for best sport. And one of the things I really like is Rob does 2 best sports. I think that's quite nice.
Great.
Gives you a chance to appreciate multiple people. So that was game 1. And then turns out Rob had it set up incorrectly. So he had it set up so score 1 played score 2, score 3 played score 4, which meant that I was playing against probably the scariest list and player at the event, which is John Dale. Now, I hadn't met John. I was aware of him and, had heard his name, and I knew he was a solid player, and he was playing Mortuary Cult. So on to Mortuary Cult. Here we go. We can see some pictures. Some quite nice Tomb Kings. I really like how Tomb Kings look on the table. I'm a big fan.
They do. Look pretty awesome.
Yeah. So I was playing a Mortuary Cult game, and I think our deployment took 35 or 40 minutes. But it was like, it was very important for him to get that right, so I didn't just come in and eat things. So, it wasn't at all resentful of that. We did end up running a little low on time, which did cause a bit of an issue at the end. But I'll get to that in a second. Basically, I just played the game of, do I want to charge? No, I don't. I tried to give John as many difficult decisions as possible. John then had to answer them, and he'd set up a situation where he'd failed a TMP, a Travel Mystical Pathways, or I'd dispelled it, something like that, with on the big poison shooting brick. And he was really worried that I was going to charge it and then overrun it into the casket behind. And I was like, you know what? I actually don't think charging this is correct. I think it's better for me to position round the corner and set up just to eat all of the really squishy things, like the go in and get the catapult, get the casket, because they're really hard to get out of there. And I think if I could set up the multi-charge and those, I felt a lot better for subsequent turns. The skeletons were up against the casket, so they weren't able to run. Which meant that I was going to be just tied up in combat. There was a Necrosphinx.
That's what I was thinking. Until you've got a way of dealing with the champion, that skeleton unit, you're not going to break it in one turn, and you have to break it in one turn.
Yes.
I completely crumble the whole unit, or you're never going to hit that caster.
So my solution for this unit is to put the BSB Griffin into it. However, because of how much range damage Mortuary Cult can put out, I kept the BSB well out of the way, so I knew that I had to turn. So this was going to be turn 2 that I decided not to charge into it. Turn 3, I had to charge in with the Griffin, so I was going to be tied up theoretically until at earliest turn 4. So I decided, I'm not going to go for it. Then I remembered I had Impetuous. Then I had to roll the charge. I rolled a 2 on the Impetuous test. All right, I'm going in.
In we go.
Yeah, and this went. As expected on turn 4, I was able to charge into something else, or maybe I killed them on my turn 4 and overran into the casket. Either way, it went well. Here's the problem. John had loads of little printed out cards to remind him of all the spells, and on turn 2 we realised that he didn't have his Plague of Rust card out. It was in his box somewhere, and we didn't do anything about that. And I want to be clear, everything I'm saying here, I'm not giving John shit for. Like, this, I feel like, was a collaborative issue that we kind of came down on together, and John was very reasonable about it, and it was a feels bad moment for both of us. Basically, getting to the end of the game, coming into his turn 5, I say, do you want to call this at the end of turn 5? We've got 2 minutes on the round. It's your turn now. I don't want to take my next turn and you not have time. And then we just played through turn 5 and 6 quickly. But what it boiled down to was he did loads of damage to the Griffin, and he said, okay, you're at -2. Didn't have a marker there for Plague of Rust. I didn't think he'd cast Plague of Rust. He thought he did. We couldn't remember between us, and we ended up just, on a dice roll. 1, 2, 3, you've got it. 4, 5, 6, you haven't. I think he suggested the dice roll. Either way, he was very, cool about it, given that he ended up losing. Didn't make an issue out of it, but it was just like one of those crap situations, because
when you're rushing a bit.
Yeah, and it was a really tight win as well. It was an 11-9, so I'm not happy that I've won that way. It's not like anywhere near as bad for me. Obviously, it's worse for John because he's lost the game. But that was just, it was a bit frustrating as well, because we'd both noticed on turn 2, and neither of us did anything to rectify the issue that we didn't have a marker for Plague of Rust going forwards. But he was just a good sport about it all the way through. Wasn't any issues. Another one of my sportsmanship votes, because that was just a crap situation that I think was resolved as well as we could have done. And that was the end of game 2. So I'd won 2, and I think basically beaten the hardest player list combination already. So I was at this point not feeling like I should win it, but feeling like I should play well, and it's my game to lose, my tournament to lose. Then I got to here's some pictures. This was a rough one for John. That rat bastard. Thank you very much.
Oops, accidentally submitted the wrong list. It's 200 clown rats again. Speechless face emoji. Rat emoji.
That is definitely the wrong list. That is pretty rough.
200 clown rats again. Oops.
Yep. So here's a picture. John flank charged in with his Tomb Scorpion, and I was really worried he was going to killing blow me, or Monster Slayer me, and then didn't get it off and died to Crumble, which was... There was a lot of consideration put into this as to whether I held, because basically this was his turn 2, I think. If I decided to flee, then I'm never going to kill this poison archer brick. So I played, on the line and got away with it. And then here is the overrun. Let's have a look. Yes, on to game 3. Game 3, I was playing against Niall, I think he was called.
Look at these!
So, these are incredible. This is Orcs and Goblins, and this list is very fun, very cool, and even better, the sculptor of these models, whose name I don't know, apologies, so I can't give him a shout out, lives just down the road from the TSN Arena.
Brilliant.
So, Niall got his army out, and Rob went, did you know that insert the name of the sculptor, lives just down the road? He's like, no. So Rob texted him, and he popped in and just came and had a look at someone playing with his models, which I thought was very cute. So
got a little Smurf factory going in there in Nottingham.
Gnomes, yeah, loads of gnomes. So this is 2 units of shooting goblins, one with a poison banner. In the back left, we've got a couple of Mangler Squigs, got a couple of Doom Divers, some...
Those Mangler Squigs are terrifying.
Yeah.
That's creepy as hell.
Well, one of them ate my BSB, so yeah, I'd agree. And then I think,
it was the way to go.
It was triple wizards as well. So despite it being a funny looking list and only having 30 poison shots, I was actually kind of a little bit scared about it. Yeah. But it went pretty well. So this was at the end of my turn 1. I had basically just full sent forwards. I'd put the Pillar of Flame just behind the dragon. You can see there.
Yeah.
And again, just making sure I'm outranging all of the shooting, trying to avoid getting Doom Divered. You can see down at the bottom right here, just the edge of a unit of my Illyrian Reavers. They're spread out so they don't get hit too heavily by the Doom Divers.
Yeah.
And I've just set it up so that, yes, he will shoot me, but he's only going to shoot me for 1 turn. He didn't have Plague of Rust. He didn't roll Plague of Rust. And I was out of range of one of the... Itchy Nuisances, the one on the left over here, and the other wizard over here I managed to position to get basically just shoot it to death, which was really big. A little bit of a deployment error there, which was definitely in my favour. So got here, wasn't too worried about being debuffed. I was out of range of Itchy Nuisance. The other wizard over here is dead, and I'm set up to charge. All good stuff. And then, if I go across, that might have been it. Yeah, so the pillars here, basically, on Niall's turn, he dropped his Fanatics. They went through the dragon, did maybe 1 wound, because it was, you know, you're wounding on 5s. I've got a 2-up save, a 5-up ward, a 5-up regen, all good stuff there. And then I just sent the pillar back through my dragon on my turn, so coming into my next turn, so before the Fanatics got to move, and just used the template to clear up all the Fanatics that were theoretically going to spin through my units again. And that was the biggest use I had of the pillar that game. It was basically setting it up so I could just make sure I don't get Fanatics for too long. And here is a second game where I declared a charge with the Terra Corsa and the unit fled off the board. It was pretty rough.
You lucky bastard.
Yeah, I mean, so I was going to charge in with the Dragon and the Griffin.
Anyway, don't you?
It really just sort of sped things up. So by the end of the game,
I have to roll any dice.
No, by the end of the game, Niall only had, I think, 3 Black Orcs left alive. These models up in the top left, and everything else I'd picked up. But yeah, that was another one I was like, oh, okay, cool. I also felt less bad about it because it was, I think there was the BSB in there, but no wizards or anything like that. So it was only 400 points flying off the table as opposed to the massive amount of models that fled off in the previous couple of games.
There's a couple of photos you've shown now where your cavalry just seems to be chilling at the back of the board.
Yep, because
he's not using it.
Well, so game 2, what have I played against? I played against a Dwarf Gun line, and I would like to not be shot to death. I played against a Mortuary Cult, and I'd like to not be shot to death. And then I played against Fanatics, the list, with also poison shooting, and I'd like to not be Fanatic and or shot to death. So, honestly, if these units never make it into combat, I'm pretty happy. Like, I can use them to posture, I can use them to threaten, I can set up, like, angles, but realistically, it's the Dragon and everything else, the Wizard, the Skycutters. The Skycutters are really good. I find that they do a lot of heavy lifting in the list, and they do a lot of damage. So yeah, they're pretty happy just chilling back here, and then theoretically getting Arcane Urgency out if someone plunks a dragon in front of them. But yeah, that was my game into Niall, and then we went and had dinner at the usual place, GB Cafe in Nottingham. It is the main reason to come to one of Rob's events. And I say that as someone who lives in the same city. It's great. It's such a great place. The staff are great. The food's great. Would recommend, even if you just come down, even if you're not going to one of Rob's events, just go and give the restaurant a try. So coming into day 2, there was another person there who is on an international team. I believe he's on the international team. I think it's fully sorted now. Nicolas Boucher, friend of the channel, friend of me.
I thought they weren't deciding till June.
I think he's part of the organizational. He might not be locked down, but I think he's in the running for it at the very least.
He's in for a good shot.
I'd expect him to be on. Anyway, so he was there with his Bretts, and he had been, as we say here in the UK, given it the big one. I think he was very excited to play versus me, as opposed
he's just annoyed he came second to me in the previous event, despite the fact he's a much better player than I am.
Oops. So the last time we played, I beat him at the Saffron event, and it was a very, very close game, and I just beat him, and it was like a knife's edge game. So I think he was looking for revenge. I'm currently 2-1 into him at tournaments, which means that he's possibly due a win against me. He's a very solid player, so there's a solid chance that he'll beat me, especially when he's playing Bretonnians or the Goblin Star he plays. Both of those are good into the lists I play, so he's definitely got a good shot. However, he ended up being matched into, I can't remember who he was playing into. I think he actually might have lost round 3. But anyway, yes. So instead of playing against him, I ended up playing into Wolves of the Sea. Now, this list is incredible. Let me just, there we go. Let me zoom in a little bit, see if I can show them a bit more. These were fantastic, and I might have to make a video about this list. Maybe ask Paul to come and talk about it, because the list is pretty simple. It is 18 skin wolves plus units. And it's cool. Like, it's just great. He's got a Chaos Lord on Dragon there. We were talking about some tweaks we would have made. But, like, I think this is just a really fun, interesting list. And it has things that it loses too. But I was just looking, I was like, man, this is sick. This is a really cool list. I want to play this. We're in a bit of like a weird dead period for Old World, because we're probably due an FAQ sooner rather than later. Summer, autumn, something like that. So I'm kind of like waiting on that to come through. Where, you know, a lot of armies have got relatively solved lists, and there's been reasonably big periods between the Arcane Journals in terms of like the release schedule I'm used to from 40k. However, I saw this and I was like, oh, this is fresh. This has got me excited. Really cool list. Lovely guy, Paul. I played him before. Was very happy to play him again. Just a good list. And also, Wolves of the Sea, I'm well set up to play against, just in terms of characters, because I've got my High Elf Silverhelms with the Ring of Fury. So before you do anything, I get to cast Hammerhand. So I was like, yeah, okay, this is good. But Skin Wolves are an interesting problem, because Skin Wolves are a move 7 swift stride infantry unit. You can't countercharge them. Not that I have countercharge. They are mini Peg Knights, basically, in that they 360-degree charge. They're skirmishes. They've got swift stride. So they're really hard to avoid. And I was like, how do I get my dragon into them? Normally, the plan is just plonk your dragon in front of a unit so it can't escape and it has to fight it. But the Skin Wolves could just run ragged around me. Like, there's no way that I can tie them down. And then I realised the rest of Paul's list has Frenzy. Look at all those frenzied units. So here's where my dragon was at the end of turn 1. In range of multiple units of frenzied marauders. So what happened is, and I don't know if I got a picture of this. Oh yes, so because of the size of the front of my dragon, he wasn't able to get all his models in. But the Griffin was Arcane Urgency'd into range of one of the units, and they charged into the Griffin. The second unit was in range, but Paul used Warband to fail the charge, which I think was smart. So the first unit's in here into a Griffin, and then there's 2 units here into a dragon. And I get a Pillar of Fire off as well, just, you know, insult to injury. And at the end of this one, this is from way later on. Basically, I win the combat, and then I pass my test to reform, and then I turn around, and at the end of Paul's turn, I'm facing the Skin Wolves with my dragon. And if he wants to run away with them, he has to run off the board. So the game plan worked very well, and Paul was saying that he realized he should have put his all of his ambushes into ambush, so I couldn't have done the frenzy trick, but this worked out very well for me. And basically the dragon ate 12 Skin Wolves before Paul had a turn 3, and then on the last or second to last turn of the game ate the last 6 Skin Wolves. And
what's his dragon doing at this time?
Oh, nothing. It's really hard to play a dragon into an army as maneuverable as mine. So it didn't get into combat at all, which was, I don't think it got into combat at all. It did some breath weaponing, because that was the best he was able to get out of it. But one of the adaptations we talked about was like, you should maybe just take a level 2 wizard with the because you can't take level 4s if you're taking a Chaos Lord as well. Right. One of the limitations of Wolves of the Sea.
Yeah.
Maybe just take a level 2 with a Lore Familiar, add a Power Scroll, and then turn 1 park your dragon in front of something. Like, that probably just ends up being the right choice for the list, honestly. But yeah, so everything apart from the dragon died, and I want to say it was an 18-2. It was a lower win, actually, because I didn't kill the 700 or 650 point dragon.
The dragon's still sitting.
I ended up 16-4, which was I was happy with. And you know, when you're playing against someone else with a dragon, I think the best approach is just to kill all of their stuff and not let your stuff die to the dragon, basically.
Yeah.
I was really worried about this list going second, actually. So if you look at how he's deployed, you can see here just that all the way along. So if I'd gone second, I think I'd still be fine, because, you know, he's running at a dragon, for example. But the way he's deployed, he can just full pressure forwards and tie me up, which is something that the list isn't great at. So I'd have to punch through and then probably sacrifice some units to the Skin Wolves to get there. But yeah, going first meant that I could just get the frenzy positioning and jobs are good. makes you feel a lot more comfortable with it. So that was good. Going into round 4, there are 2 undefeated players. There's myself and there is Andy 2D6. You probably know him. He is great. He's at a tournament most weekends, actually, plays multiple game systems, has been wearing the shackles of dwarves for a long time, and finally brought Chaos. And all of the models are from 1998 or before.
Oh, wow, okay.
That is very much Andy's brand. He has got all the classic stuff. So let me see if I can get some pictures, because they are really nice models. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. Huge fan of what he's done with the army. So he's got some...
Look at that dragon!
Yeah, and he was saying, coincidentally, the Dragon Ogres are some of his favourite models in the game, but also just happen to be really good, which he was very pleased about. Andy will play whatever he wants. Like... The fact that they were good was the thing that was the cherry on the pie. It wasn't the reason that he brought them, I think.
Yeah.
So this is 2 units of Dragon Ogres, a dragon where that base is, but he didn't have it there just for space issues. We were both using spare bases, actually, in this game, which was interesting. Then he's got a unit of Frenzied Chaos Knights, which he correctly identified shouldn't be out in the open, so I could bait them. And then a huge unit of Nurgle Warriors with a Nurgle caster with Demonology in there. So... I felt pretty good about this game going in. I know Andy. I've played Andy a fair few times. I've never lost to Andy before now. And I think he's a solid player. I think he's a good player. And I will say I'm still a little bit heartbroken that I lost this tournament.
Yeah.
From a competitive level. I think it's great that he won. I think he probably actually played better in this game. But I was just like, this was as close to on a platter you can get an event. And I'm a little bit gutted that I didn't get it. But that's fine. You can't expect to win them all. So here's me. I'm sort of tied up. We're playing open battle again, so I've spread out a little bit. Andy's gone for a denied flank, as he likes to do. And yes, we're going from there. Steve says, you sent him that dragon. Oh, yes, of course you did. He spent, I think, 3 days or something painting it. Let's go back to looking at it, because it's just a really nice dragon. See if I can zoom in a little bit on it.
Oh, pretty models.
Yeah, it's a little bit blurry, but... It's really nice. The amount of time he spent painting this is basically how long I spent painting my entire army in Panic, which I'm not going to talk about why that was the case.
It's a very classic colour scheme as well, isn't it?
Oh, it's great. It's nice and bright. So classic, so
really
vintage. Basically, we had a very technical game with a lot of pre-measuring and a lot of intent and a lot of discussion about how things were going to go and measuring, and it was great. I love those sorts of games. I like playing against Andy. And yes, there's the full deployment. Let's see what we've got. Yes, turn 1. I plonk my dragon in front of both units and say, because he's got Steed of Shadows, you can teleport this unit out here, but you can't teleport out the unit of Dragon Ogres. And my hope was that he wasn't able... I was in range to deny the spell, so I was hoping that I'd be able to stop him casting Steed of Shadows, so he gets stuck there. I didn't manage to, and he pulled my trick, which is to put a big unit in front of my units, which is rude. So we had basically this stare off where both of us had a unit that was theoretically trapped in. I could have Arcane Urgency this unit out, but it was in range of his caster, so he could have maybe denied it. Yeah. Maybe I should have turned around here. I decided what I wanted to do was I charged in here with the theory that I've got first charge, I've got the Hammerhand Ring. I think I can win this combat and tie him up. And then I've got 2 units here, 1 here, and then 1 over here. The Griffin is in the top right. Oops, I've gone off it again. Yeah, the Wizard is in the top right of the map that you can't quite see here, ready to charge in the right-hand flank, and then the Lothan Skycutter is facing the back left here. So all I need to do is win the first round of combat, which I think I can do, and I did. Not lose horrendously in the second round of combat. And then also, I've got Swift Stride. I can probably escape if needs be.
Yeah.
And then on my next turn, I can then get the multi-charge in and potentially just absolutely muller him, because I'd be able to get in. I'd be in base-to-base with this Wizard with my Griffin. And at that point, I get to eat the Wizard, because the turn before I'd killed his unit champion with my unit champion with the Hammerhand Ring. So it was all set up well. Didn't quite go to plan. On his turn, he got all his Demonology spells off. I didn't manage to deny them, which was a risk. I knew I was taking a risky play here, but I felt like a bit pressured into doing something. And also, it's only 187 points here, so it's not the biggest issue to lose them. But because the Demonology spell went off, he just absolutely cleaved through. In the first round of combat, you can see I lose one model. In the second round of combat, he just wipes the squad to a man. So that
okay.
It was a little unfortunate, but it's okay. It wasn't a big problem. The big problem, that's from a long time ago. It's the last picture. So the big problem was basically I decided to kill the Dragon Ogres because the Griffin was set up to multi-charge. I could either go in for the Dragon Ogres, if I remember correctly, or I could go in for that unit. So I decided I was going to kill the Dragon Ogres, and then if I got flank charged by his dragon, which he set up, I was then able to get into combat with my Griffin to support, which would have been like +4 combat res by the time it's like a flank charge, the close order, the banner, the war banner. And at that point, I just win on combat res and theoretically push him off the board. Maybe this was a miscalculation, because maybe what I should have done is just not taken the charge into the Dragon Ogres and just like continue to position around. In retrospect, probably should have done that, but I did feel good about tying up his Lord, being able to vault Unmaking, getting rid of the ward save and everything like that. But didn't end up going that way. On turn, I want to say his turn 3, he won combat by 1. I rolled an 11 on my leadership test, and I ran off the board, which sucks as a way to lose the game. But I can't complain, because 2 people did, roll 11s or whatever on their leadership test and run off the board.
It all came back to catch you in the last round.
It did, yeah. It didn't feel good, though. It was rough. And I'd done the maths beforehand, so I knew that as long as I didn't get absolutely smashed, I was pretty much guaranteed to second. Yeah. Which gave me some flexibility to try and get a comeback. So I did manage to engineer a situation later in the game where this unit was sort of over here in the top left of the board, near, close to half strength. So if I'd killed 6 of them, I'd have forced a panic. They'd have been below 50%, so they'd have been at -1 leadership. They'd have ended up below 25% or something like that. So they were unlikely to rally. I can't quite remember the exact situation, but basically I set up like the Hail Mary, where if he failed a panic test and then didn't rally, and I think there was a reason that the rally was going to be difficult to do, and they aren't unmarked, they're mark and Nurgle, so they don't get a reroll. There was a world where 700 points runs off the table and I just scrape a victory. But that's the thing with those sort of like high risk, high reward plays. They usually don't pan out. It's just sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
It feels a little bit like you were forced quite early in the game to start taking risks, and whether that's the risk of making that charge with the Silver Helms and then living through the second combat, there's a risk involved there. That's not a guarantee.
Yeah,
you've got the risk of taking the flank charge from his dragon into your dragon and needing to survive that round so that you can get the Griffin in. There's a lot of kind of pieces that need to fall into place for you to get the results that you need. And obviously every game of Old World that applies, doesn't it? That's not unique to this game, but it just feels like you were put in a position where you had to take more risks than I would suggest, from having played you a few times, you would normally be comfortable taking.
Sure. Yeah, and sort of game 5 is where you end up having to play riskier because you're theoretically playing against the better list, the better opponents.
Yeah,
and I do, because I am a bit, not bit is the wrong word, but I am gutted that I didn't get the win. And he played incredibly well. He played really well, especially given that he didn't know how his army worked at the start of the event, including I told him a couple of things, mostly in his favor. It wasn't like he was cheating or anything like that.
Yeah.
But
I mean, using those warriors so aggressively to get across the board, and identifying the fact that had he done that, he could position himself in such a way where what is a much more maneuverable army can get tripping over itself, and to identify that play, use that as an opportunity not only to escape your dragon and your ability to do damage, but also to start pressuring units that you don't normally see getting pressured and haven't for the rest of that event really seen pressured at all.
Yeah.
So to identify that as the play and then execute it, I think that's really good there. And then it forces you to start making bad choices.
Yeah. He played a very good technical game. His first turn, he spent about 15 minutes before he got moved to his shooting phase. Or I guess he didn't have a shooting phase because he ended up marching the wizard. But he spent like 15 minutes from, deciding what spells to take to cast, and then also how he wanted to play his turn, whether he wanted to go for a charge, yada yada, which was I hated seeing, because it's like, oh god, he's putting a lot of thought into this. This is
the scariest players to face at a tabletop are the players
who know what they're doing.
Right, your turn.
Yeah,
and then they just stop.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh shit! You're not just going to run blindly towards me.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it was good. It was a good weekend, good caliber of play. I think I played against multiple players I've played against before. Multiple players I think are really solid. It was good event, good experience. Always a nice time. I don't think I can pull them up without going, because this is just in WhatsApp because I'm being lazy instead of downloading them. In fact, let me just hide this for a second, because I want to just give Rob a shout out, because I think his shooting was not his shooting. Where have these gone? It's a good job I did close that, because I've got loads of messages that I should respond to. See if I can pull up the media here.
Are you being ignored by Ed? Phone this number.
Man, I've just hit a point where I can't keep up with the messages.
Just so famous now.
No, it's it's not. It's multiple things. Some pictures in here. I can't seem to find them for some reason. Oh well, not that important. I just thought that Rob had taken some really nice action shots, some good camera work, but they're not immediately jumping out on there, so I'm gonna just close that down and not show it. Cool. Well, that takes us on to the questions, and there were a chunk of questions in there. Actually, It was a pretty busy one. I think half the messages are just members arguing amongst each other, so we don't have to read them all, but I will try and pick out the stuff that we do need to talk about. Apologies if anything gets missed, because we did all have like a big conversation in there. So starting off with Callum, did you know that people who win bronze are often happier than those who win silver? Any thoughts? Yeah, I'm good. Would have been happy with third than second, because second is first loser. Steve says, if you have to pick a metallic color you use most when painting your armies, what would it be? I mean, just for me, it's silver. Got any thoughts on that one?
I only really know gold, I'm afraid, from my one event this year.
Cool.
Although that trophy hasn't arrived. Danny from Gothic Games, if you're listening, I was promised a trophy, and it's not yet here. I need to rub it across his face.
Yes. Goldfire says, with more and more comp and potentially homebrew, how do you suggest rankings are done? I don't think we can avoid them anymore. I would rather have like one rankings for minimum comp and then one rankings with everything's in. I think it's difficult to do, but I don't think it's going to happen. So we just have to accept the fact that the rankings that didn't really mean much anyway now mean less.
Yeah. It's the sort of thing where I'm not sure in the way that they do with 40k. Games Workshop are looking at Gommo's Old World rankings.
I'm not sure they know it exists.
I don't think they even know it exists, probably.
I would expect so.
So I think until Games Workshop go down that route, the rankings are just a bit of a fun, aren't they? They're just a bit of a laugh. They don't necessarily mean anything. And the more versions of comp we have, the less they're going to mean. So
I think there was talk about why they're important as well. So just to sort of like vaguely address that, it's cool to see how people are doing just overall. Like if you're shooting for one of the top rankings, obviously that's cool to look for. But I think it's a really nice thing to have if you are a burgeoning or like decent tournament player with view to improve. When I was playing 40k, the first year I played, I ended up, I think, top 50 in the UK, which I was like, oh, hell yeah, I can, I'm not bad at this. I can go for something. And then I set a goal for top 50 in the world, which turns out was too high of a goal, and ended up top 100 in the world. But that was great, and I could follow throughout the year, see how I was doing. There were moments that I was in the top 50, and that's just because I nailed a load of events at the start of the year, and then all of the really good players got their events, and I was like, all right, cool, I've got the screenshots on an old phone. I don't think I've got them anymore, more's the pity. But yeah, no, I think it's a really good thing to have for like personal achievement more than anything else. And then also for bragging rights, if you
Yeah,
if you want to do that, if you're better than your mates.
Yeah, for sure. And in our little Saffron community, we've after each event that people go to, we have checked them. And after the Saffron one, people got excited to see where they were and how many points they got from the event, depending where they finished and stuff. So it can generate good conversation, and it's good fun amongst friends and groups to discuss. But yeah, I think we are not in a position where we can use that data for anything meaningful yet, and that is a situation that's only going to get worse with various forms of comp as they come in. So maybe we get to a world where GW can sort of coalesce the community around a single version of the game, which would be great for me to see as a tournament organizer and as someone that likes to go to events. You don't want to turn up to an event and get a surprise on something that you weren't expecting, and so it kind of cuts that situation out, doesn't it? But I think from rankings perspective, they're just a bit of a laugh, and that's how we should treat them and just enjoy them rather than take them seriously.
Cool. So moving on, there's a lot of stuff about rankings here. I think it's probably like you could make a full episode on rankings, honestly. So I don't know if we want to go super far on it, but it's basically the argument comes down to: do you think there should be comp? Do you think there should be homebrew? Do you think we should care about rankings? I'd rather not have comp, like proper comp. I'd rather not have homebrew, and I do like rankings, but I can't be the one to make things happen. I'm not important. It's not my choice. So, what else have we got here? It's just a lot of comp. Yeah, sorry, I am just going to skim through this because I think it is mostly just conversation. Let's have a look here. Okay. So Matthew says, I'm talking to a local club about running a 500-point tournament. Any thoughts on the draft pack? Idea is to bring in some new people while also keeping it fun, a tactical challenge for more experienced players. Intuition behind it. Anything that complicates how you play is a bad idea. That's true. We should use the normal old world terrain set to get lots of players in. That makes sense. As little measuring for setup as possible and no complicated bookkeeping, and people like flags. That is all fair enough, I think. And then there is a PDF here. So, have you looked at this at all?
I have not, no, sorry.
Cool. It's a 7-page document. What I'm going to say is, just because I can't read it all now on stream and give like an actual thought without dedicating probably 10 minutes to it, how about we both have a look at it and just give you our thoughts? We can type them in we can just type them in Discord or whatever. That's probably the best way of doing it.
I'll take the homework.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing you like to do.
Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, I haven't looked at it, but if it's a beginner tournament, make it literally as simple as possible so that you don't need to know barely anything about the game to turn up.
Yeah,
absolutely. If you've done that, then you'll be fine.
And then I think there's a lot of discussion / arguing about that pack. Good stuff. There's some regulars in the Discord in the VIP section who are very engaged, which is not a criticism. It's nice for me to open up and flick through. And
I like that the Discord, the VIP lobby of Discord, can at one moment be deep conversations about new Cathay miniatures, and then I can pick it up half an hour later, and we've had 1,000-message conversation about the benefits or disbenefits of privatizing the water industry in the UK. And I was like, what's going on here?
the most respectful debate about politics, or the most slop you've ever slopped ever, and there's no in between. It's either the worst thing you've ever read, just in terms of like, I think my brain is leaking out my ears, or you're like, both sides are making compelling arguments, which is nice. Let's have a look here. Do fish think water is air? I don't know. I don't know that fish think much, if I'm being honest. Thanks for that, Ed. Good question.
As someone that's seen fish die in poor water quality when they could have just swum in a different direction, I would suggest they don't think too much at all. I'm spending a lot of money to save fish from dying at the bottom of a weir at the moment, where they could probably just swim a different way and they'd be all right.
Well, what can you do? Some people just don't want to be saved. Jordan says, if orange is the new black, is silver the new gold? No, because if orange is the new black is a popular TV show, and getting silver made me sad. Thank you. Thank you for pinging that one, because I had missed that question. So Steve says, if you're in the Olympics and won a medal for an event and you didn't get first or third place, what colour would your medal be? I don't know. I'd leave it. I'd be like, nah, I'm out.
To be honest, if I'd actually got to the Olympics for anything, I'd be quite happy with whatever colour the medal was.
Yes. Yeah.
But do you know what? I'd be happy I got to a final.
You know, that's fair. I'm not, but you know,
I'm in the
that's
top
a healthy
10
approach.
Someone else can win. I don't care. I've made it to the top 10. No one. This is just me being the best I can be.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think so. This is something that my partner gets at me a little bit for. That if I feel like I should have done better, I'm quite hard on myself. But I think it's a good competitive approach.
Yeah.
That's
you're not being a dick about it.
God, no.
You see your mistakes and you work out how to do it, and then you get frustrated that you've made them, and then you move on.
If someone outplays me, like significantly, I don't feel like I've made big mistakes, I'm like, yeah, cool, you know, good game. That was great. Thanks for teaching me. It's when I feel like I've played poorly, I think that I'm most upset. I love the fact that we're rooting for him and then it was silver. Yeah, there's been 2 events this year where I've posted how I'm doing at the TSN Arena, 3-0 on day 1 both days, and the chat has been like, oh, he's gonna win, and then both times I've not won, and I've got the ribbing. I might have to just ask Rob to hide the results or something like that, so I don't have to emotionally go through it again when I lose another one. But that's all good. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So I've got practice games because we're into WTC round 1 for the online qualifier. We did our matrix, we did our pairings into Wales, and I have to play against Pash, who has been talking shit about me on the internet, very, very mildly. But
smash him.
Indeed. So we'll see how that goes. He's playing Warriors of Chaos. I think I might have, again, got maybe the best player on the team, I want to say. Or one of the top players on the team. So, feel like...
End him. Make him never want to play Old World again.
Oh, yeah. That's probably what he deserves. Said with love. But yeah, so that'll be coming out on Pash's YouTube channel, no doubt, because he does record all of his games with voice chat. If you want to check that out, go to, I believe his YouTube channel is Pash Monster, and I would expect to see the video up there in about a week or so. I do need to reply to his message and set up a game. He sent it while we were streaming, and yeah, that's what we're going. Callum says, and in real life I think he hates you. He might do. He was very nice when I met him in person. Very, very jovial, very friendly. Didn't deny that he was talking shit about me though. All right, gonna call it there. Have a good one. We'll be back. I'll see you on Thursday. We've got a High Elf tier list, I think, coming on Tuesday with a special guest. And then we will be back for the 1-year anniversary of the Close Order podcast. Not next Tuesday, but the Tuesday after that. Make sure to tune in. It'll be good because Lewis will have planned something.